Part 19. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 181. There was no need to look at the face, just by listening to the voice, the bald man knew that it was Su Ming who came. He was so familiar with this hateful voice that it seemed that every time he heard it, he would be in trouble. Su Ming smiled and walked through the dogs, walked to the dumbfounded bald man, squatted down and patted his face. "Brother Bald, what's the matter with you coming to me in the middle of the night?" After saying that, he looked at his bleeding hand and smiled. "Next time you come, give me a heads up in advance, so that you won't be chased by dogs or bitten by turtles, and suffer all kinds of grievances." The bald man wanted to be tough or say something else to quibble, but when the words came to his lips, he couldn't say them for some reason, and instead he was filled with sadness. Next, a very strange scene happened. The bald man stared at Su Ming for a few seconds, and suddenly burst into tears. Now even Su Ming was completely dumbfounded. "You said that you are a big man, and you are also a tough character who has been a city management officer and chopped people. I didn't beat you or scold you, so why are you crying?" "Hey, bald brother, don't be afraid, I won't beat you, I won't beat you." Su Ming scratched his head. "How can I say this? At least wait until I punish you before crying." Ever since Su Ming followed Zhu Chenggui and found that he left the zoo and went straight to Huading Reservoir, Su Ming has determined that it was Zhou Jin who did it. Of course, Su Ming couldn't predict what Zhou Jin would do next, so he could only add bee sentries to all directions of the Water Army Lake. Although Goza was not there, there were still many other bees in Beiwa Valley. By midnight, the bees did not find anything unusual, but the dogs playing in the back mountain found the traces of Bald Head, and the Wolfdog brothers immediately notified Su Ming. Su Ming thought about it at the time. It was very easy to kill Bald Head in the wilderness in the dead of night. But if you do this, there is no other practical meaning except to vent your anger. On the contrary, you may put yourself in a passive position. Even if the bald man dies, Zhou Jin can come up with other tricks. There is only the principle of being a thief for 1,000 days, how can you guard against thieves for 1,000 days? Besides, in the confrontation with the bald man and Zhou Jin, they are always the ones who suffer. Su Ming has not been wronged at all, so there is no need to vent your anger. It is better to use the bald man to do something. Deliberately arrange the dogs to scare him first, and then talk about other things. Unexpectedly, the bald man collapsed so quickly that Su Ming could not say a word of the coercive and induced words he had prepared. He just looked at the bald man and cried. This guy is usually very cruel, but when he cries like this, he is like a woman. While crying, he also mutters to himself, "Brother Su, I'll tell you the truth, I really don't want to go against you, it was that bastard Zhou Jin who forced me to do it. I'm miserable, I'm wronged, I've been bitten by wasps and I'm unrecognizable, there's still a row of glass piercings on my butt, woo woo. That bastard Zhou Jin, I worked hard for him, but he didn't say a single good word." The bald man cried and babbled, and Su Ming was speechless. If it was a woman crying, he could still do something, but a man, a former hostile gangster, crying like this in front of him, it was completely at a loss. Should I hand him a tissue or something? Su Ming thought about it and decided not to. That scene was really unbearable to watch, too chilling. After waiting for a while, the bald man was still sobbing endlessly, and Su Ming finally couldn't help it and slapped him on the forehead. "Damn it, if you wail again, I'll bury you today." "Don't say it, this trick is quite effective." The bald man stopped crying immediately. He looked at the dogs around him, then at Su Ming, and finally, like a deflated ball, "Hey, brother Su, at this point, there is nothing I can't say. I saw last time that you are not an ordinary person. I don't want to embarrass you anymore. It's all because of that bastard Zhou Jin." "Get to the point," Su Ming said. "It's like this." The bald man spilled the beans, explaining the whole story. Damn, I knew that this guy Bald was unreliable. He couldn't even do such a small thing as stealing 2 fish. The next afternoon, Jojin was furious. Bald had been out since he went out last night. Until now, it has been almost 20 hours and he hasn't come back. Not only did he not come back, he didn't answer the phone and text messages, as if he had disappeared from the world. Brother Joe, could Bald have been caught by the zoo and sent to the police station, said a younger brother. Who is farting? The bald man's voice suddenly sounded outside the door, and then the door was pushed open. The bald man came in with a big snakeskin bag in his hand, all wet, and put it heavily on the ground. He glared at the man who spoke, then said to Jojin with his head held high, "Brother Joe, I got the fish back." "How did it get to this point?" Jojin frowned and asked. His eyes fell on the thick bandage on the bald man's palm. "Brother Joe, you don't know, I almost couldn't come back, it was too mysterious. Fortunately I was smart and prepared. I was catching fish last night. Do you know what I caught?" "Why keep it a secret, just tell me," Jojin said impatiently. "You still know that alligator turtle, it's the one reported before, that thing is in the water Army Lake. I was bitten by the alligator turtle, and my mobile phone fell into the water. So, I was afraid of infection, so I went to the hospital to hang 2 bottles of water before coming back," the bald man said. Jojin didn't care whether Baldy was infected or not, and asked, "You weren't discovered by the zoo staff, were you?" "No, I followed the route you mentioned and walked from the back mountain. That area is very safe, and there is no ghost." "Okay, stop talking nonsense, get those fish out, I want to send them for inspection to see if there is any problem." Not long after, a small car drove out of the villa, and Jojin took the 7 or 8 fish that the bald man stole back, left the Huading Reservoir, and drove towards the city animal quarantine agency. Baldhead and several other brothers stayed in the villa, doing nothing. Baldhead turned on the computer to play cards online. Before playing a few cards, he slammed the mouse on the table and cursed, "What a shitty network speed, it's slow even when playing Landlord." A brother who was in charge of managing the company's computers laughed and said, "Brother Baldhead, it's probably because you downloaded too many movies and it's infected." Baldhead stood up and said impatiently, "Fix this broken machine quickly." "What's the password for Brother Joe's office computer?" "I'll use his computer to type it in." The brother hesitated for a moment, and still said, 1 2 3 4 5 6. How do you manage the computer?" "It's better not to set such a password," Baldhead cursed, then walked upstairs and entered Jojin's office. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 182. It is not unreasonable that the bald man was almost collapsed by the dogs. If he really met a group of wolves, the bald man would also be scared, and it is possible that he would piss himself, but it is definitely not as shocking as this group of dogs. The more docile a person or animal is at ordinary times, the more terrifying it is once it changes to another extreme. It is like a furry little sheep. If one day you suddenly see it gnawing at another sheep with blood in its mouth, it is definitely more frightening than seeing a wolf eating a sheep. Although the behavior is the same, the former has exceeded people's psychological expectations and tolerance. After Jojin got the fish, he was busy for the past 2 days. He first sent it to the municipal animal quarantine station for inspection. After getting the results, he was overjoyed. These fish really contain a lot of hormones. To be on the safe side, he even went to the provincial capital again and found the animal quarantine station of the Academy of Agricultural Sciences to make a confirmation. 2 days later, the final appraisal certificate finally came out. Inspection units at both the provincial and municipal levels have found various residual artificial hormones in the fish sent for inspection, mainly urea and diamine, and some ketone. A long time ago, there was a rumor on the internet that aquaculture farmers used contraceptives to feed fish and shrimp. In fact, this statement is not accurate and belongs to rumors. On the one hand, the cost of doing so is too high and the gains do not outweigh the losses. On the other hand, for most fish and shrimp, taking contraceptives not only does not have the effect of fattening, but will affect the growth of fish and shrimp. But this rumor is not groundless. There are indeed a few unscrupulous farmers who do add various hormones to the feed in order to make the fish and shrimp grow faster and fatter. After the fish eat it, they will grow wildly, just like the fish in the water army lake, which can grow several kilograms in half a year and look very healthy. Obviously, if people eat this kind of fish that grows up with hormones, it will definitely affect their health and even cause major diseases and hidden dangers. Therefore, this practice has always been prohibited by the state. No wonder this kid's fish grows so fast. Zhou Jin was very excited on the way back to Yangchuan City from the provincial capital. After 2 levels of inspection, this result will definitely not be wrong. With this big handle in hand, Su Ming will fall no matter how strong his backer is. Maybe even the zoo will be greatly implicated. Of course, it is a big deal to play a trick on someone. The same thing, different operation methods, and different effects. Zhou Jin has been in the society for decades, climbing up step by step from the bottom of society. The people he has contacted range from small gangsters to government leaders and celebrities. In terms of social experience, he is absolutely rich. Now that he finally has a big handle in hand, Zhou Jin calmed down. He decided that he must plan carefully this time to give Su Ming a fatal blow, completely destroy him, and never get up again. Things began to brew step by step. Su Ming is now one of the top leaders in the zoo, and has his own office. This day, he was drinking tea and reading newspapers in the office, and he flipped a page casually. There was a piece of news that was not very long, which caught his attention. 9-year-old girl's breasts are developing. As a big beast, Su Ming's eyes lit up when he saw this title, and he couldn't help but read on. The content of the news was not long, and he finished it quickly. It was about something in another city. A 9-year-old girl had chest pain and went to the hospital for a checkup. It was found that her breasts had developed, and her parents were shocked. Although girls develop earlier now, they have to wait until the menarche comes, at least until they are 11 or 12 years old. Everyone knows this common sense. A 9-year-old girl has not grown all her hair, so how can she develop hair? After a series of examinations, the hospital finally found out that the girl's estrogen level was far above the standard. So the parents began to look for the reason. The little girl liked to eat seafood. Following the clues, they found that many of the crabs sold by farmers in the market were grown with hormones. Su Ming waited for several days, and finally waited for a news related to hormones and seafood. After reading it, I just felt that this news was very familiar, as if it was not the first time I saw it. So I checked online and found that it was news from several years ago. I don't know how it came out again. It's strange to say that such a news from several years ago, which was published in a small space on the 4th page of the newspaper, has attracted a lot of attention. First, there was a movement in the Yangchuan City Forum. Many posts about hormone payment appeared in the food and health sections. Hormone-fattened pork leads to male sterilization. How to correctly identify fattened fish products. Cucumbers will end your offspring. Don't take cold medicine randomly, be careful to become a big-breasted woman. Why does a 70-year-old man fly every night? It turns out that he took health products containing hormones. All kinds of sensational and eye-catching headlines are not entirely related to fish. They cover almost all foods that may be encountered in life: chicken, duck, fish, meat, eggs, cucumbers, radishes, vegetables, and some health products and medicines. But all the problems clearly point to 2 words: hormones. To be more precise, it is illegally added hormones. In addition to the sensational titles, these posts are also accompanied by many shocking pictures, such as girls with breasts bigger than their heads, old men with haggard faces due to too much sex, etc. These are still good, but the food and people in some pictures look like they have been irradiated by atomic bombs, which makes people feel sick. Netizens have different reactions to this. Have some common sense, hormones don't work on plants. This is a scientist who listed a lot of data and chemical formulas below. Others pointed out that many of the contents of these posts were from many years ago, and some have even been debunked, such as a young woman ate raw tomatoes and raped her old man. This is a lie. Even if there are hormones in tomatoes, it can't have such a strong effect, right? But more people can't help but feel a sense of panic. After all, this is something that is closely related to everyone's life. Every day, we have to face the inevitable shopping, cooking, eating, drinking, and defecating. Reject hormone food, advocate pure natural. You scared me to death. I will grow vegetables in my yard in the future. What should I do if I don't have a yard? Can I only grow broccoli in pots? What about chickens, ducks, fish, and meat? I can't raise them myself, right? Oh, I can only rely on luck. I hope God will protect me from buying food with hormones. I have a younger sister at home. If she gets infected, I will be shocked. Some people also saw business opportunities in it, selling artificial fertilizer, fresh and hot poop, guaranteed to be pure natural, stinky, free shipping. Dear, it's still hot after receiving it. My virginity of 40 years has finally come in handy. Aged virgin urine will ensure that your cabbage grows healthy and fresh. I will immigrate if I have money. This country is too dangerous. Don't worry, I grew up drinking San May milk powder and received expired vaccines since childhood. What I love most is to walk in the first haze in the morning and eat fried skewers made from the gutter with relish. With my body, I am immune to all poisons. What a little hormone means. Su Ming has read almost all the posts. The internet is speechless nowadays. One thing will go off topic while talking about it. It's very imaginative. However, in any case, many citizens are indeed attracted to the food hormone incident. In just a few days, the number of posts about hormones in the Yang Chuan forum has exceeded 100, almost dominating the health and diet sections. Any related post has thousands or tens of thousands of hits, and the popularity is comparable to the lucky cat and riding fish that Su Ming created. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 183. Interesting. Su Ming looked at the computer screen, his eyes rolling around a few times. It's also hard for Zhou Jin, a 50-year-old guy who hasn't even graduated from middle school, to actually know how to use the internet to build momentum. But, if that's all, it's not enough. Su Ming touched his chin and smiled mischievously. With a bang, the door was pushed open heavily from the outside. Who enters the leader's office and doesn't know how to knock on the door? Su Ming rolled his eyes. Knock you on the head. Nangong Yan walked in from the outside wearing high leather boots. As she said this, she actually knocked Su Ming on the forehead. It was quite painful. Oh. Su Ming covered his head and grinned in pain. Are you sick? I am also a leading cotter. If you dare to touch anyone again, believe it or not, I will execute you on the spot. Come if you dare. Nangong Yan put her hands on her hips and raised her chin in a provocative manner. Forget it, the impact of broad daylight is not good. Su Ming went over and closed the office door. Why did you come here? Su Ming was also quite depressed. In the past few months, he has changed a lot, and Nangong Yan has also changed a lot. Although she was an unruly young lady in the past, she was still very shy when it came to matters involving men and women, and she also focused on being gentle in front of herself, but now she is better. He acted completely like a domineering president and started to play a violent route. It is not good for the situation to continue. Why did you come here suddenly? Have you been on the Yang Chuan forum recently? The internet is going crazy about the issue of food hormones. Nangongyan looked at Su Ming in a very serious tone and said, those fish of yours grow so fast, shouldn't they? Maybe they've also been given hormones. How is that possible? Sister, you forgot, I also eat it myself, Su Ming said. After saying this, Nangongyan remembered it. Sometimes she would go to the Feng Shui pavilion and pretend to be helping Su Ming with cooking and housework. In fact, she was just here to eat and drink. Basically, Su Ming was cooking. She moved a small rocking chair and lay on the platform of the water pavilion, holding the cat in her arms, basking in the sun like a landlady. In some of the meals, the food seemed to be fish. Humph, you still have some conscience. Let me tell you, if you dare to make such immoral money, I will ignore you in the future, Nangongyan said with a groan, and then sat on the sofa opposite Su Ming. Sister, I am that kind of person. Obviously not, it was so cold that Nangongyan's face was as cold as a red persimmon. Su Ming poured a cup of hot tea and handed it to her, saying, what the hell is going on, running over in a hurry. Nangongyan took the teacup, held it in her hand, sniffed twice, and then said, the hormone issue is very hot during this period, and the TV station will probably make a special column for me to host. I came today just to ask questions first, in case there is a problem with your fish. Hee, after all, you still care about me, Su Ming said with a smile. She came here specially on a cold day. In fact, she was the one who tipped off the news, telling her that the TV station would start paying attention to the hormone incident. Yangchuan City TV station was the mouthpiece of the Yangchuan municipal government. If the TV station came forward, it meant that the government was behind it. Seeing, Nangongyan hummed and said, then since your fish is fine, I agree. No. Don't, Su Ming shook his head quickly, don't accept this show. Nangongyan was very surprised. She opened her eyes wide and asked, why? Do you know that this kind of social hot topic program is very popular? There are several female hosts like me on the TV station who want to host this special program. Why don't you let me go? Nangongyan also has her own job. It is a Vanity Fair-like TV station, and hosts often fight openly and secretly. She has risen rapidly recently, and it is inevitable that she will make some other hosts jealous. The easiest way to become famous are social hot programs and entertainment programs. Like the previous food programs, you may not be able to become famous in a lifetime, but this kind of hot program may become popular after a few episodes, so in the promotion there will definitely be competition among the hosts. It's for your own good that I don't let you do this show, Su Ming snorted and sneered. This matter is not as simple as it seems on the surface. Don't get involved for the time being. Maybe later on, whoever gets involved will be unlucky. Hearing what Su Ming said, Nangongyan pulled Su Ming's face with both hands, stared at him for a long time, pouted and said, tell me honestly, are you behind this? He, let me tell you anyway, bad people will not end well, Su Ming grinned, come and kiss me first. Don't come here, Nangongyan dodged away, and knocked Su Ming on the forehead again, and then said seriously, but now the station just has this plan, and it does not necessarily mean that it will be a show. It still depends on the final impact of this matter. As you know, there are all kinds of news on the internet every day, and it may die down in a few days. That's not possible, Su Ming said seriously, how can you let such a big social incident go? I will definitely do it. TCH, you are the director of the station, so you are so sure, Nangongyan said. Su Ming smiled and said, although I am not your station director, I can be sure that this matter will never end here. Just wait and see, it will get bigger and bigger next time. While Su Ming and Nangongyan were having fun in the office, there was also a busy scene in the small villa of Huading Fishing Company. The lobby on the first floor of the villa is now like an internet cafe, with 7 or 8 computers, and various wires dragging on the ground like dense spider webs. Baldy and a group of his younger brothers are all sitting in front of the computers, concentrating on surfing the internet. In the past 2 days, a group of gangsters were trained by Jojin to become water soldiers. They found various posts about food hormones on the internet, posted them to the Yang Chuan forum, and registered n different vest accounts, replying and posting below to add fuel to the flames. Not only them, Jojin also mobilized some other friends in society, and even secretly hired some professional water soldiers under the advice of Baldy to create momentum. Only in a few days, the hormone incident was quickly heated up. Speaking of this move of creating momentum, Jojin was inspired by Su Ming. As the saying goes, knowing yourself and the enemy, you can fight 100 battles without danger. Jojin, like all heroes born in the wild, although he has not been to school much, is familiar with the Three Kingdoms and water margin, and has learned many strategies and tactics from them. Jojin has studied Su Ming very carefully and found that all the successes of Su Ming, big or small, have a common important link, creating momentum. Every time Su Ming wants to do something, he must first use the internet, TV, and other media to create enough momentum, and then strike with thunder to achieve the maximum effect. So Jojin also put a lot of effort into the momentum link in this plan. Very good, but this is far from enough. Jojin stood in the corridor on the second floor, like a great man, full of vigor and vitality, and waved heavily downstairs. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 184. When it comes to the speed of information dissemination, newspapers and television have actually fallen out of date a long time ago. Today's young people don't watch them at all, and some young people don't even sell televisions. Internet forums are no longer good. Don't you think the Haijiao forum, which was so popular back then, has almost become a gathering place for advertising posts? Q is still used, but most of it is a tool for chatting with friends or for office use. The most popular thing now is of course WeChat Moments. As long as you have a mobile phone and can access the internet, you can use it wherever you go, and you don't have to be limited to a computer. Moreover, things like Moments have amazing spreading power. Even a slightly gimmicky post can spread quickly like an infectious disease, from one friend to a group of friends, from one circle to another. All in all, this is a modern device that can spread information to thousands of people overnight. Even people of Jojin's age know that if you want to build momentum, you can't do without this thing. In just 2 or 3 days, Yang Chuan citizens discovered that their circle of friends had been flooded with an article called "You Are Silent, You Are an Accomplice, The Tragedy of Hormone." We live in the city, and like all human beings around the world, we need to eat and drink to survive every day. We go to the vegetable market to buy vegetables and supermarkets. Over time, we get used to the food we buy with money, and instinctively I think that since I paid the money and since the food is placed in government-approved stores, it should be healthy. At least, it's safe. However, how many people know that every time we eat a bite of food, we are making a huge gamble with our own health and the health of our families? For our elderly parents, for our innocent children, starting from me, refuse hormones. Report hormone foods. Demand severe punishment for unscrupulous traders who add hormones. I don't need your likes, please repost. Every repost you may inadvertently save a family. The article contains thousands of words and uses very sensational words to passionately raise the issue of food hormones. The article does not contain very professional scientific knowledge, nor does it clearly point out who added the hormones. Instead, I used a fragmented method to collect many cases of tragedies caused by eating hormone-containing foods, and combine them with pictures that are very distressing to look at, and I compiled this article. I don't know whether it is intentional or unintentional. Most of the cases in this article have 2 things in common. First, most of the victims in the cases are children. In a civilized society, children's issues are the most disturbing. With shocking photos of child victims, it can immediately arouse the emotions of all parents. Secondly, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but the vast majority of cases are caused by aquatic products, and the most common among them are the 4 common fish species on the market. There are no such things as plants, because anyone with a little bit of brains, or a search on the internet, will know that using hormones to promote the growth of plants is very unreliable. In this way, the credibility of this article is virtually enhanced. Moreover, freshwater fish, especially the 4 major species of fish, are the most common and have been eaten by almost everyone, so they can have the greatest influence. I don't know who originally posted this article or where it appeared. But in just 2 days, this article touched everyone's nerves. People with a little conscience couldn't help but want to repost it. It is impossible to count how many times it has been reposted and how many circles it has reached. Anyway, as soon as you open WeChat Moments, you will definitely see this article. I have to say that the article is very well written, easy to understand, sensational and persuasive. After another day or two, the article's scope of influence was not only in Yangchuan City, but also spread throughout the province and even the country. The most direct problem caused by this is that the fishery market in Yangchuan City, where it originated, suffered a heavy blow. The fish in the fish market cannot be sold at all. Fish that used to cost more than 10 yuan are now sold at a 50% discount and no one wants them. Don't even say it's sold, even if you give it away, you don't dare to accept it. As for those big restaurants, there are even fewer people ordering fish. If you buy fish to grill yourself, you can still see the live fish anyway, and the cooking process is also in your own hands. You can directly serve the cooked fish in the restaurant. Who knows what kind of fish it is, whether it has hormones, or even what kind of fish it is during cooking. During the process, are there any unhygienic things added? The fish market here in Suming has not yet opened, and orders from several large restaurants have suddenly dropped by more than half. Not only was Suming's Shuahun Lake sales greatly affected, but the fishery products from Huading Reservoir were also unable to be sold. However, compared to Shuahun Lake, the situation at Huading Reservoir was slightly better. Zhou Jin had been in this business for many years. He has a wide network of contacts. If he can't sell it in Yangchuan City, he can sell it to other places. If it doesn't work, he can still sell it to surrounding countries at a low price. Of course, the situation is just a matter of getting better first. The market environment is extremely sluggish, and reservoir sales have also been greatly affected, not even 1/5 of what it was at this time. This is a typical lose-lose approach. If the situation continues like this winter will be a cold winter for the entire Yangchuan City and even the national fishery market. At the same time, there have been strong calls from the public to strictly investigate and deal with the food market, especially the aquatic product market, and give an explanation to the general public. Excuse me, Wang Jianxi cursed angrily in the office. Isn't it inexplicable why such a thing happened to such a good person? At present, no one in Yangchuan City is sick after taking hormones. In other words, the person responsible for this matter cannot be found. How to explain it? Speaking of which, sometimes the government feels aggrieved. No matter what big or small things happen, as long as the people are unhappy, they can vent to the government. This time the matter was a bit big, it was almost a national news, and the source was found to be in Yangchuan City. Wang Jianxi was in charge of agriculture, forestry, and fishery in Yangchuan City, and he was the first to take the blame. Old Wang, it's useless to complain about these things now. Vice Mayor's son, who is about to retire, waved his hand. The top priority is to solve the problem and let the people eat safe fish and safe meat. Old leader, I also know that this is not in front of you. I have a few complaints. Wang Jianxi sighed and pointed to the office door with a wry smile. Out of this door, facing the media and the common people, of course you can't complain. A vice president of the Fisheries Association named Jo Jin put forward a bill specifically for this incident and reported it to the city. The city thinks it's good, and I want to ask your opinion, Vice Mayor Sun said. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 185. The Yangchuan Fisheries Association is a non-governmental organization formed voluntarily by the farmers. It does not yet have a real president. Several large farmers serve as vice presidents and discuss matters during normal times. Oh! What proposal? Wang Jianxi was stunned for a moment, and unexpectedly took the proposal from Vice Mayor Sunday. It seemed that Vice Mayor Sun came to him specifically to discuss the feasibility of this proposal today. The content of the proposal was not long, less than 3 pages. Wang Jianxi read it quickly. Do you think it's feasible? Vice Mayor Sun asked. Wang Jianxi pondered for a moment and said, if you look at the proposal itself, I think it is feasible. Letting the industry take the lead in self-examination should be the best way. Vice Mayor Sun nodded, we thought of it together. However, Jo Jin of this proposal. Wang Jianxi hesitated for a moment, half asking for instructions, half discussing, and said, I heard that his reputation is not very good. If he takes charge of this matter, will it cause any surprises? External adverse effects, extraneous consequences. Vice Mayor Sun thanked him, walked around the office twice with his hands behind his back, and finally said, Old Wang, just look at the present. Besides, the Zhoujinyi Fisheries Association still has some reputation. Okay, I agree with this bill. If you need my cooperation, you can ask him to come to me directly, Wang Jianxi said. I hope this incident can be resolved smoothly, and you and I can both give an explanation to the higher UPS. I asked the secretary to also say hello to Jo Jin. If it is handled well, the municipal committee will remember his contribution. Deputy Sun, the mayor's words actually have another half meaning. If you do it well, you will naturally get promoted and make a fortune. If Jo Jin takes the initiative to solve the hormone problem, but fails, then Jo Jin may be responsible for the blame. To use a very common saying, this is both an opportunity and a challenge. In the final analysis, Vice Mayor Sun and Wang Jianxi discussed it for a long time and agreed to the proposal not because of how good the proposal was, but because when it was inconvenient for the government to come forward, someone could stand up and share the government's worries. And the government will not be involved. In this way, the government is always behind the scenes, taking the initiative and being able to advance or retreat. Dear citizens and viewers, hello everyone, this is a special program on food safety on Yangchuan TV station, and I am the host Shen Meng. Recently, there have been rumors about food hormones on the internet, which has caused a certain amount of confusion among citizens. Panic. Today we have invited the Vice President of the Yangchuan Fishery Federation and Mr. Jo Jin Zhou from Huading Fishery Company as our guest. On the TV screen, after a female host who looked charming but had slightly narrow eyes and seemed a bit mean finished speaking, the camera turned to a well-dressed middle-aged man sitting diagonally opposite her, who was Jo Jin. Hello everyone. Jo Jin sat upright, looking like a gentleman, nodded slightly towards the camera, and said, as the host said, food safety issues are related to everyone's health, and there is no room for carelessness. As the Vice President of Yangchuan Fisheries Association, what do you think of this? Host Yang Meng asked. Nangong Yan also sat in Su Ming's office and watched TV together. She muttered dissatisfiedly, I got angry when I saw Yang Meng's face. This person has a twisted mentality and is a shoo-in for newcomers. When I went to the TV station, I'm so angry with her. Isn't it just because I have an affair with the leader in the station? When I get rich in the future, I will buy your TV station, and then if you have an affair with me, I can give her some shoes to wear, Su Ming joked. On the TV, Jo Jin continued, I myself also run an aquatic product company and engage in breeding, so I am very concerned about this matter. After this incident happened, I immediately found relevant experts. Here, I first have to ask, let's dispel the rumor that hormone problems generally do not exist in plants, so you can eat plant products with confidence. What about the animals? The host asked knowingly. Yes, it is entirely possible for animals to be affected by hormones. Especially fish, as long as a small amount of hormones are put in, it can affect all the fish in the waters. So in terms of cost, fish farming is actually the most likely to use hormones. I think this is one of the reasons why the host invited me here, haha. The host smiled and nodded, that's right. This hormone incident not only caused panic among the citizens, but also had a huge impact on you and the entire Yangchuan city's aquatic product market. As the vice chairman of the city's Fisheries Association, at the same time, the Huading Reservoir you operate is also the largest freshwater fish breeding farm in Yangchuan City. Do you have any countermeasures? Oh, just a few days ago, on behalf of the entire Yangchuan City Fisheries Association, I proposed a proposal that the Yangchuan City Fisheries Association should take the lead to conduct a comprehensive inspection of all farmers above a certain scale in Yangchuan City. At the same time, in order to reassure the public, the entire inspection process was made public and broadcast live, so that the general public could see the truth at the first time. Just before I came to the studio, the Fisheries Association had already held a meeting to formulate the inspection plan. For the process and plan, we invited scientists from the provincial and municipal levels as an expert team, and the association accompanied and coordinated the entire process, which was broadcast live by Yangchuan TV station. This is really good news. If safety can be determined from the source, then citizens will be more at ease when buying. The host smiled. There are more than a dozen farmers in Yangchuan City now. Which one are you going to start with? Woolen cloth. As an entrepreneur with a sense of social responsibility, I would suggest that we start the inspection from my Huading Reservoir, Zhou Jin said. Okay, let's applaud Mr. Zhou's selflessness. Finally, I have another question. If problematic farmers are found, what punishment measures will be taken? First, the Fisheries Association will impose the most severe economic penalties and expose them, and put them on the supplier blacklist. At the same time, we will make the evidence public and hand it over to the law enforcement department. Those suspected of illegal crimes will be filed by the government department. Zhou Jin's remarks on the TV station were quickly spread through various channels. In the past, when encountering similar problems, the TV station would have conducted secret visits, such as the annual 315, but never once used the live broadcast mode. This means that all events that occurred during the inspection process, every word and every detail of the personnel from all parties will be presented to all viewers in their original form. There are no secrets under the sun, and the audience is not stupid. As long as the whole process is live, it is difficult to play tricks. At least the difficulty of playing tricks will be greatly increased, especially in the current environment where the hormone incident has been hyped and everyone is paying attention. No one will take the risk of being condemned by the world for one or two farmers. At the same time, in front of countless viewers, once any farmer is found to have problems, no matter what the person's identity or background is, he will inevitably be punished most severely. The news of the live broadcast means that the management is going to take real action, which undoubtedly cheered people up and soon attracted a lot of attention. Not only the people of Yangchuan City, but also the attention of the entire province and even the whole country is focused on the small Yangchuan TV station. Although the live broadcast has not yet started, the ratings of various programs of Yangchuan TV station have been significantly higher in the past few days. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 186. The internet also maintains a huge attention. 3 days later, the truth will surface. Wait and see, eliminate the pests. The national killer is about to surface. The information of more than a dozen well-known breeders in Yangchuan City was also dug out and posted on the internet. Many netizens speculated which one might be affected, which caused a lot of discussion and verbal battles. Under the attention of the public, this vigorous inspection activity finally kicked off at noon in winter. Leader, the ratings have been rising since this morning. Now it has reached 32.76%, and it is still rising. Yang Meng had a simple call with the leader of the radio station through the communicator. Very good, start the live broadcast now. The other end of the intercom came with the suppressed excitement of the station leader. Before the official broadcast began, the ratings had already broken through the sky, soaring all the way and breaking several records in a row. Even the actual ratings of CCTV's Spring Festival Gala are not so high. Of course, the data released by the Spring Festival Gala working group must be higher than this. Hello everyone, I am Yang Meng from Yangchuan TV. Now, accompanied by Mr. Zhou from Yangchuan Fishery Association, we, along with 2 experts from the province, have come to the beautiful Huading Fishery Company with professional testing equipment. Yang Meng briefly introduced Huading Fishery Company like an advertisement, and then 2 experts boarded the fishing boat with the filming staff. After the computer immediately extracted 3 coordinates and cast the net, they salvaged dozens of kilograms of various freshwater fish. Next, the 2 experts tested the dozens of kilograms of fish caught one by one in front of the camera. For the sake of intuitiveness, the most advanced instruments were used. The instruments clearly displayed the various element indicators in the fish body with numbers. If any of them exceeded the standard, the testing equipment would immediately alarm. After working for a whole afternoon, all the fish caught were finally tested, and the numbers on the testing equipment were always green, which represented safety. This shows that the fish of Huading Fishery Company do not have any problem of exceeding the standard of hormones. Not only did it not exceed the standard, various data proved that the fish of Huading Fishery were slightly better than ordinary wild fish in nutrition and meat quality, and had good edible value. The Huading Fishery Company passed the inspection safely, and the people of the city breathed a sigh of relief. You know, this is the largest fishery supplier in Yangchuan City. If there is a problem with the fish here, then the fish that most people in Yangchuan City have eaten in recent years contain hormones. The TV station was even more ecstatic. The ratings of the entire program, at the peak of the program, have exceeded 35%. It can be said that for a long time, it is impossible for any program to break this ratings. This also directly reflects the degree of attention paid by the audience in the city, the province, and the country to this incident. After the live broadcast, that night, there was a lot of praise on the internet. Raise conscientious fish and be a conscientious person. Decisive attack, proper handling, thumbs up for the Aquatic Association. Don't eat fish this winter, eat Huading fish if you want to eat. There are still many people who continue to speculate, who among the remaining farmers did this kind of immoral thing. In the next few days, the Aquatic Association, the TV station and the experts, the 3 groups of people almost non-stop, conducted investigations one by one. Special personnel were also assigned to guard the fish ponds to be inspected 24 hours a day to prevent people from replacing the original with the fake. During this period, the inspection team actually found 2 small farmers with problems. One was feeding fish with swill, and the other was raising crabs. When the disinfectant was added, the dosage was slightly higher, causing the crab meat to become more woody. However, these are all minor problems, not even violations, and have nothing to do with the excessive hormones. In order to prove that his fish would not affect health, the owner of the fish farm even caught a few swill fish on the spot and ate them in front of the camera. As the farmers were excluded from the suspicious list one by one, the people's hearts finally fell into their stomachs. The TV station's ratings are still high, but the audience's mentality has changed a lot, from the initial anger and tension to expectation and curiosity, and many people even have the idea of watching the excitement without fear of trouble. Only the last one is left, the Shuahun Lake of Yangchuan Zoo. This is a very simple question. One of the 10 people is a murderer. After investigation, the other 9 people have evidence of being absent from the scene. So, who is the murderer? After excluding all the suspects, the only person left is of course the criminal. This is a truth that even children know. After a series of investigations, the truth seems to have come to light, and all the spearheads are pointed at Shuahun Lake. Before the inspection of Shuahun Lake, a large number of people on the internet had already begun to denounce Shuahun Lake and the zoo. Yangchuan City TV station even made a special program, with Zhou Jin as the guest and Yang Meng as the host. The whole program was attacking and accusing from beginning to end, and Shuahun Lake was always mentioned in the words. Zhou Jin was even more indignant, and he slammed the table on the spot, saying that as the vice chairman of the Yangchuan Fisheries Association, Yangchuan City had such a scum of a farmer, and he was very sad. He must investigate thoroughly, dig deep into the root cause, and give an explanation to the citizens of Yangchuan City. As the big villain, Shuahun Lake also became famous this time. Without spending a penny on advertising, it appeared frequently in the city, the province, and even in many large national media. Even CCTV inserted a floating text message and made a brief mention of it. Wang Jianxi had never expected that Su Ming would be blamed in the end, so he hurriedly called Su Ming. Su Ming, tell me the truth, are you using hormones? Wang Jianxi's tone was serious. If Su Ming's fish really has hormones, don't talk about him. Even if Deputy Mayor Sun comes forward, he can't save Su Ming. What's more, in such a general environment, which leader would come forward to speak for a profiteer who has been criticized by many? Su Ming looked indifferent and said with a smile to the other end of the phone, Wang Bureau, don't worry, if there is a problem after the inspection, we will deal with it. How to deal with it? I will never embarrass you. Wang Jianxi heard some clues from Su Ming's words and said doubtfully, what do you mean? Wang Ju, I am a party member, how can I do such immoral things? Don't worry, I guarantee it with my party spirit, there will be absolutely no problem. Director Song was also made nervous. He had been talking to Su Ming all day long in the past 2 days. Although he didn't say it directly, the meaning behind his words was the same: if you really did something immoral, you should confess it quickly. Maybe he could get a lenient treatment. At the worst, he would sell the car, pay the fine together with the money from the last time he sold alcohol, and the old man would come forward to beg for help and try not to go to jail. Leader, can you have some confidence in me? Su Ming was speechless. Did he look like a bad guy? Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 187. I don't think you are that kind of person either. Director Song walked back and forth in the office several times with his hands behind his back, and said doubtfully, this hormone incident happened so suddenly, I always feel like there is someone behind it. Now all the fingers are pointed at you. Have you offended something recently? People. It has to be said that Mr. Song is a very old man, and he is indeed a weather-beaten person, and his sense of smell is still very keen. Su Ming did not hide it, nodded and said, someone wants to trouble me. What a bastard! Director Song got angry and slammed the table. Of course he didn't call Su Ming a bastard. Now Su Ming was trained by Lao Song as his successor. He is the future hope of the zoo. To punish Su Ming is to punish the zoo. If he doesn't give Su Ming a better life, he will ruin the future of the zoo. What's more, the zoo is now involved. Shuahun Lake is the asset of the zoo. If something happens to Shuahun Lake, the zoo will naturally not be able to escape the blame. At this juncture of the upcoming restructuring, it would be troublesome if it were found that the fish in Shuahun Lake were all fish with hormones. Don't worry, leader, there will be no problem. Although I like money, I haven't done anything to earn that kind of conscience-breaking money, Su Ming advised, then raised the corner of his mouth and said with a sneer, "It's time to put an end to this matter. Some people are buzzing around like flies. It's really annoying." Hearing Su Ming's harsh tone, Director Song tensed up and said sternly, "Xiao Su, don't do whatever you want, you can't do anything criminal." "Don't worry, leader. I am a law-abiding citizen and a party member. How could I commit a crime?" Su Ming said. Finally, the day came to inspect Shuahun Lake. Early in the morning, before the zoo opened, there were already crowds of people outside the gate. Reporters from all over the place arrived early. The scene was comparable to a press conference. As a result, an accident occurred. The security guard of the zoo blocked the gate and refused to let him in. There was a conflict between the inspection team and the security guard of the zoo. Section Chief Dong pulled out all the 8 security guards on duty today from the security department. They stood in a row at the gate like door gods. They all had belly and chest high, and their waistbands were tightly tied with armed belts. They were carrying them with them in their hands. They used electric batons to block the door and prevent them from entering. The host Yang Meng said to the camera at the right time, "Dear viewers, Yang Meng is now reporting for you live." When the inspection team entered Shuahun Lake for inspection, they were brutally blocked by the zoo security. According to the information we obtained, Su Ming, the contractor of Shuahun Lake, went from a college graduate who couldn't find a job to the de facto second in command of the zoo in just 6 months. He is worth millions and can even call on the zoo security guards. Resisting the inspection team cannot help but make people wonder, is there any deeper secret behind this? Let's wait and see. Her report actually violated the principle of objectivity. It was mixed with a lot of subjective speculation without any evidence, and the statement was also expressed with strong personal feelings. If you are an ordinary person, it is okay to say this, but as a host, it is very inappropriate to say such things in front of the live camera. However, no one will notice this at this time. In any industry, winners are kings and losers are thieves. As long as it is finally found that there are hormones in Shuahun Lake, Yang Meng's words will be very happy, and maybe there will be more being put on a high hat such as the conscience of the press. Now that I know I'm guilty, it's already too late. Zhou Jin waved his hand and said impatiently to Section Chief Dong, "Where's Su Ming? Do you want him to come see me?" Old Dong hugged his arms and looked at Zhou Jin expressionlessly. After looking at it for a long time, he said, "Buy a ticket and enter the park." Zhou Jin never expected that the old director would say such a thing, and said in shock, "What nonsense are you talking about? Now the inspection team is going to inspect Shuahun Lake and ask these security guards to get out of the way. Otherwise." Su Ming just wandered out of the zoo, leading 2 large wolf dogs half as tall as a man, followed by a small giant who looked like an iron tower, looking like a landlord bully. "What else?" Su Ming's voice was louder than Zhou Jin's, almost pointing at his nose and shouting, "I ask you, who gave you the power to inspect? Do you represent the police agency or the court?" After saying this, Zhou Jin was choked up. Yes, he is the vice chairman of the Fisheries Association, but the association is not a law enforcement unit. In theory, it has no power to forcibly inspect the properties of other units. Yang Meng handed over the microphone at the right time and asked in a strange tone, "Boss Su, if you don't let the inspector in, does it mean that there is an invisible secret in Shuahun Lake?" Su Ming rolled his eyes, "Can you just let the leader come to your bed?" Being questioned like this in front of the live broadcast, Yang Meng's face turned pale with anger. "Don't slander others." Su Ming shrugged, "Oh, it doesn't look like that. Does that mean that you have an invisible secret in your bed, so that's why you don't let the leader in?" Su Ming deliberately emphasized the words invisible secret in a tone of voice. He returned these disgusting words to Yang Meng as they were. After finishing speaking, he turned to the camera and said calmly, "I support the detection of hormone problems. but state-owned laws and families have family rules. People have to buy tickets to enter the zoo, and the inspection team also needs to buy tickets. Chief Dong, you are optimistic. Here, if anyone breaks in without buying a ticket, call the police immediately. After that, he wandered back to the zoo with the two dogs. Everyone is equal and buys tickets to enter the zoo. This sentence is indeed what many people want to say but cannot say. And the question about going to bed with Yang Meng before was also quite exciting and fragrant. It immediately raised Su Ming's impression score among the audience, creating an image of a straightforward and principled young man. For a while, it was difficult to associate him with a black-hearted breeding merchant. Zhou Jin was blocked at the gate. He thought it would be too troublesome to ask the government for help now. In the end, he honestly bought a ticket to enter the zoo. What a twist, Zhao Yun sat in front of the TV and laughed to himself. No wonder the online platform is popular now. The live broadcast process is indeed very exciting, and some unexpected accidents can happen at any time. There are many viewers who have the same idea as Zhao Yun. Maybe there will be more exciting things next. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 188. In fact, the ticket money for dozens of people is not a big deal for both the zoo and Su Ming. The reason why Su Ming did this to give the other party a warning was, on the one hand, to establish a tough image through TV and tell everyone that a small zoo is not easy to mess with, so that no one dares to cause trouble in the future. On the other hand, tough leaders are more popular, which can also be regarded as a way to attract some popularity for the zoo and himself. After all, the development of the zoo still depends on tourists. In recent years, the fan economy has emerged. If the zoo can have some die-hard fans, it will be of great benefit to the future. Moreover, things have come to this point today, and the relationship has been completely torn apart. There is no need to save face for anyone. If you want to do it thoroughly. After a small episode, the inspection team and reporters finally arrived at Shuahun Lake. The large area of water in front of us is Shuahun Lake. It used to be the zoo's artificial lake. This year, it was contracted by Su Ming to raise fish. After the hard work of Vice President Zhou Jin and the experts of the inspection team during this period, all the farmers in the city have been checked, and only Shuahun Lake in front of us is left. Host Yang Meng stood by Shuahun Lake, with a vast lake of 100 acres behind her. A row of cruise ships were temporarily parked by the lake. She continued in a sensational tone. The scene that happened at the entrance of the zoo just now was shocking. Fortunately, we finally came to the Shuahun Lake. Is there any secret hidden in this seemingly calm lake? Now let our experts conduct an inspection and reveal the truth for us. Why do you say that? Before the expert revealed the truth, Liang Shi on the side was unhappy. He walked to the camera with a gloomy face and asked the host Yang Meng. He has been taking care of the fish in this lake, and has invested a lot of effort. He knows better than anyone whether hormones have been added. Of course, he cannot allow anyone to insult the fruits of his labor in person. Liang Shi was wearing a one-piece work suit, and looked like a fisherman. Yang Meng looked at him and asked with a bit of disdain, "Who are you?" "My name is Liang Shi, a graduate student of the Provincial Academy of Agricultural Sciences." Liang Shi pointed to the fish in the lake and said, "I took care of these fish. I can guarantee with my professional level that there will be absolutely no hormones. Also, comrade host, you can't talk nonsense in front of the TV audience without any evidence. This will be legally responsible." The two experts in the inspection team came from the province. They were acquainted with Liang Shi's teacher, Professor Tang, an old expert from the Academy of Agricultural Sciences, and naturally knew Liang Shi. It was difficult to say anything in front of the camera, but they looked at each other with a strange look. They still trusted the integrity of Professor Tang and Liang Shi. Since Liang Shi was here to help raise fish, there should be no problem. There will be evidence, Zhou Jin stepped forward a little rudely, blocking Liang Shi, and said to the camera, "Now, let's ask the experts to check." After that, he took 2 experts and several assistants and strode to the cruise ship on the lake. Not long after getting on the boat, 3 locations were selected, and then the cruise ship drove to the selected locations in turn to cast nets to catch fish. There were so many fish in Shuahun Lake that it was easy to catch dozens of kilograms. After being transported back to the shore, the reporters who had been waiting on the shore pressed the shutter one after another, wanting to record this historic moment. At this time, the zoo was also open, and many tourists came. Some people simply heard that Shuahun Lake was being inspected today and came to the scene to watch the excitement. Many tourists stared at the inspection equipment with a somewhat unnatural look on their faces. Many people bought fish directly from the zoo. After eating it at home, it tasted very good. Later, they came to buy it several times. The whole family had eaten it, and they prayed in their hearts that no problems would be found during the inspection. Zhou Jin stood aside with his arms folded, staring at the various data on the equipment with a cold look, looking forward to the moment when the number turned red. As long as there is a problem with the fish in front of the national audience, Su Ming can't excuse it even if he has great ability. Thinking of this, he subconsciously glanced at Su Ming, trying to find the expression of tension and fear on Su Ming's face. Unexpectedly, Su Ming on the other side didn't even look at the inspection site, as if nothing had happened, with a relaxed look, and even bent down to play handshake with the 2 big wolfhounds. Seeing the 2 blackbacks wagging their tails at Su Ming, Zhou Jin was furious. These 2 traitors. I used to feed you well, why didn't you listen so well? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, especially when he saw Su Ming's calm appearance. Zhou Jin couldn't help but get angry, and there was no pleasure of winning. Out of sight, out of mind, simply turned his eyes to the testing equipment not far away. Time passed by bit, and the 58 kilograms of various fish caught from Shuahun Lake passed the test one by one. The numbers on the equipment never changed much and remained stable within the safe range. Zhou Jin's face became uglier and uglier, and sweat began to appear on his forehead. In the cold weather, he kept wiping his sweat with a handkerchief. On the side, Yang Meng, the host of Yang Chuan TV station, was still chattering at first, talking about the harm of hormone fish, and pointed the finger at Shuahun Lake in his words and deeds. But after talking for a long time, no problematic fish was found. Yang Meng also became a saw-mouthed gourd, talking less and less, and gradually did not say a word for a long time, making the atmosphere of the live broadcast very dull, as if there was no host like her. Until the last fish went through the inspection process, all the sampled fish salvaged from Shuahun Lake were qualified. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became very awkward. All the people present, including the large number of reporters who followed, were here with the mentality of catching bad guys. After inspecting other farmers, it was obvious that there must be something wrong with the last Shuahun Lake. Many media had even prepared press releases to denounce Shuahun Lake, Su Ming, and the zoo, just waiting for the problem to be investigated here so that they could publish the news as soon as possible. No one expected that Shuahun Lake could not find any problems at all. Because the inspection process was broadcast live every day during this period, 1/3 of the camera time was given to those testing equipment, and the digital display of those equipment was also very intuitive, so many non-professionals such as viewers and reporters could also understand the data on the testing equipment. From the data, the fish in Shuahun Lake not only do not contain hormones, but on the contrary, they also have extremely high nutritional value. If someone re-watches all the live broadcasts during this period, they will find that the fish from Shuahun Lake have higher nutritional value than any other fish, even higher than the fish from Huading Reservoir. This is so shocking. They were supposed to catch the bad guys and profiteers, but instead they found a high-quality supplier. How conscientious! You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 189. It's finally going to be on the shelves. The first chapter of this book was released on January 6th, and it was changed to a signed status on January 18th. Until today, April 8th, it has been 3 months, 2 chapters a day, and 400,000 words, it is finally on the shelves. Before it was put on the shelves, many book friends were asking why it was not put on the shelves with so many words. Book friends who have been following the book probably know some reasons, because it has not been recommended. It can't be said that there were no recommendations at all. Before about 300,000 words, there were 2 recommendations, one in February for potential works channel advertising push and one in March for professional channel strong recommendation, which is equivalent to 1 recommendation per month. It would be fine if it was a better recommendation. After all, the urban recommendation position is very tight, but when I received the recommendation text message, I was confused. I had never heard of these 2 recommendations. What are these things? Friends who often read books on Kidian, I wonder if you have heard of these 2 recommendations. Later, I checked it on the internet and found out that these are 2 almost useless recommendations. In fact, the recommendation effect is almost the same as running naked without recommendations. I remember that before the first recommendation, I had about 40 collections every day. After the recommendation, I had 50 collections every day. Anyway, the 2-month new book period passed without even a basic test recommendation. I didn't ask the editor, and I just published 2 chapters every day. Every Friday when I checked the backend and saw no recommendation messages, I was very disappointed, especially when it was almost 300,000 words, there was still no serious recommendation, which was really desperate. Friends who have written books can probably understand that a new book with good performance has no recommendation for 2 months after the new book period. That feeling is like, to put it bluntly, it's like knowing that your wife is cheating on you, but always lying to yourself that she might change her mind. Really, that's the feeling. Although I don't have a wife, I kept telling myself during that time that as long as I keep updating, there will be recommendations. And no matter what, there are still 2,000 or 3,000 readers who keep reading, and there are thousands of membership points every week. These are real data without any water, which shows that everyone is reading. This is the real motivation for me to stick to it. Later I found out that the editorial team of Kidian had been adjusted and the work changed during this period. I guess there were a lot of things to do, so this book was forgotten. Fortunately, persistence is rewarded. When it was about 300,000 words, the adjustment was completed and a new editor was arranged. Then followed by a legendary mosquito leg recommendation, and then divided into strong and heavy pushes. All the way down, it finally reached this week's strong push. Men, shouldn't complain, just deal with it. So I don't want to say anything more, I can only write seriously, thank the editor and everyone for their support along the way. Thanks must be taken with practical actions. Today is the first day of the release, starting from 2 p.m., burst. Explosion. Explosion. 6 chapters at the bottom, maybe 8 chapters, if there is nothing else, it may be more. Take out all the saved manuscripts, so that everyone can read enough at once. In the future, the update volume will also increase every day. I am not sure how much it is now, but it must exceed the 2 chapters and 4,000 words on the day before the release. With the previous 400,000 words of free chapters, here, I beg for genuine subscriptions with commemorative coins. Monthly tickets and rewards are favors. If you are willing to give, I am very grateful. If you are not willing, I can understand. But the genuine subscription is a few cents or a dime per chapter. This amount of money is really nothing for an individual. But for the author, it is a recognition of a day's hard work. For a clumsy person like me, it takes about 6 or 7 hours to write 8,000 words, which is equivalent to using all my spare time to write. I don't show up much in the group, as the announcement said, because I am either writing or on the way to writing. When others are chatting and talking nonsense, I am writing. When others are watching movies online and masturbating, I am writing. When others are picking up girls, I am writing. When others are watching Tomoda Ayaya, I am still writing. By the way, I checked, Tomoda doesn't seem to have stopped. Okay, without further ado, I will bring the manuscripts and you will bring the subscriptions. See you at 2 p.m. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 190. After the inspection, the scene was very awkward. Before this, almost everyone had determined that Xue Hanhu had problems, and they were ready to denounce and criticize him after the inspection, but now all their efforts have been in vain. Does anyone have anything to say? Su Ming walked into the crowd with his wolfhound and said with a smile, "Why are you silent? Don't hold it in and get hurt." Impossible. This is impossible. Zhou Jin was the first to break the silence. There was a hint of despair in his hoarse voice. He strode to the inspected fish, flipped them randomly a few times, and then grabbed the expert who was inspecting them, as if he was grabbing a life-saving straw, and said excitedly, "Is the instrument broken? Did you make a mistake?" The expert was a scientist from the province, a well-known figure in the industry, and an associate professor. When Zhou Jin questioned his professional level in public during the live broadcast, his face sank on the spot, and he shook off Zhou Jin's hand without a word, saying coldly, "If you think there is a problem with my technology, you can find someone else." Another expert also said, "We all checked according to scientific procedures. If you think it's wrong, Mr. Zhou, you can find a way to solve it yourself." After that, the two began to pack up the testing equipment without even looking at Zhou Jin. Zhou Jin stood there awkwardly, while Su Ming walked to the front of the camera with a smile and said to the dazed host Yang Meng, "Now, it seems that you should announce the results." Yang Meng woke up from the dream, took a deep breath, calmed down, turned to the camera and forced a stiff smile, saying, "Dear audience friends, as of today, the inspection team has inspected all freshwater fish farmers in Yangchuan City, including Shuahun Lake, and no hormone fish have been found." Every time Yang Meng said a word, Zhou Jin couldn't help twitching his eyes, and his chest was even more stuffy. He really couldn't understand. Obviously, the fish that Baldy stole from Shuahun Lake that day contained a lot of hormones, so why couldn't they be found today? From the brewing of the hormone incident to today, it has only been more than a week. Even if Su Ming was prepared, it is impossible to replace all the fish in Shuahun Lake. Moreover, Zhou Jin had been prepared for this. Before the inspection team came, the Fisheries Association had sent out special personnel to keep an eye on all the farmers, in order to prevent them from getting the news of the inspection and secretly disposing of the fish with problems and replacing them with fake ones. I thought it was a sure thing, but now I can't find any problems. Isn't it a waste of all his efforts and money during this period? No, it's not just a waste of effort. The current situation is that not only did it not cause any negative impact on Shuahun Lake and Su Ming, but it helped him to promote it from the side. The data on those testing equipment is too perfect. Zhou Jin suddenly remembered what the foreigner said in the last Yangchuan food show, "I am just a gourmet, not a scientist." The nutritional value of fish must be scientifically tested now. In front of the national audience, scientific instruments have been used to prove that the nutritional value of fish in Shuahun Lake is extremely high. Damn, I wasted so much time just to prove that Su Ming's fish is top-notch. What is going on with all this? Boss Zhou, what are you thinking about? Just when Zhou Jin was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood, Su Ming came up with a smile, pulled Zhou Jin to the front of the camera, and said loudly as he walked, "Boss Zhou, as the chairman of the Fisheries Association, you should be happy that no problems were found." Why do you have such a sad face? Zhou Jing glared at Su Ming fiercely. His chest hurt so much that his hands were shaking, and he wanted to slap Su Ming's smiling face. But in front of so many reporters and live cameras, Zhou Jing couldn't get angry, so he could only squeeze out a very stiff smile, almost gritting his teeth, and reluctantly said, "Yes, very good, very good." Su Ming asked relentlessly, "Then Boss Zhou, are you happy or not? Tell us a few words." When the audience in front of the TV saw Su Ming asking this, many people almost laughed out loud. How could you talk so casually on a live broadcast? It was like filming a sitcom. Only Zhou Jin himself knew the pain. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode, but he couldn't show it and had to force a smile. As the initiator of this inspection and the chairman of the Fisheries Association, Zhou Jin had to make a concluding statement. I am very happy with such inspection results. The people of the whole city can finally can eat safe fish. Every time Zhou Jin said a word, he felt that his heart was bleeding. Before he said a word, a hot current suddenly surged out of his chest and his ears were buzzing. Then his eyes went black and he couldn't hear anything. He fell to the ground. The scene was suddenly in chaos. Everyone saw that Zhou Jin's face was not right when he spoke. It was frighteningly pale. As he spoke, he suddenly vomited a large mouthful of blood and fell to the ground and fainted. Call 120 quickly. President Zhou is too happy. He is so excited that he vomited blood and fainted, Su Ming shouted with great concern. Soon, the ambulance drove into the zoo, and the medical staff hurriedly carried Zhou Jin into the car. It must be said that reporters are sometimes like flies, with a very sensitive sense of smell. A grand inspection ended hastily, and Zhou Jin vomited blood. All of this seemed to reveal an unusual smell. So they immediately found clues and went to look for Su Ming, wanting to get some inside information from Su Ming. But Su Ming had disappeared long ago. Not only Su Ming, but all the staff in the zoo, as if they had discussed it in advance, all became saw-mouthed gourds. No matter how the reporters asked, they refused to comment on the incident. In the end, the reporters could only disperse in disappointment. The inspection of aquatic products in Yangchuan City finally came to an end. But this matter is not over yet. Su Ming's counterattack has just begun. It is hard to say who is right or wrong in the grudges between him and Zhou Jin. Zhou Jin bullies the city hooligans, and Su Ming does not think he is a philanthropist. It is just the law of nature. A tiger broke into the territory of another tiger. Even if they can live in peace, it is only temporary. Once there is any chance, both sides will try their best to kill the other side. Since things have developed to this point, there is no need to look back and forth. It is time to solve it thoroughly. The speed of media dissemination is amazing. After the inspection of Shuahun Lake was completed, major news media and online media quickly made the news public. On the surface, everyone was happy.